Welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. This is the next episode in our story regarding issues with the town and how it impacts a candidate running for office. But before we get into it, please, as always, like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. So please do that, and also click on that bell so you get notified when new videos drop. Stay tuned. All right, we are back with the second half of this story here, and so Neil still had more stuff to show us.
Are you finding it interesting there, Denise?
I'm finding it concerning. I'm finding it very concerning.
Well, this is what I meant by when you get into office, right? Like, it's not just enough, right? Because we've seen this in other municipalities where, if one person doesn't get along with the other people, right, they try to find a way to get you off the board, right? Like we see this in the city of Newburgh, right?
Yeah.
With Omari Shakur, and we saw this with the former supervisor in Montgomery. Like we've seen this, and this is what happens, right? Like, I mean, like you can not like somebody, but spending taxpayer money and trying to frame the guy is completely different, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's why did they go to this extent? And it seems, again,
it calls into question what they're trying. Are they trying to protect something here?
Are they trying to protect somebody? Are they trying to protect something? Are they trying to protect what are they like? What's the reason for this? And I go to, well, he who controls the money has the power, right? Like It could be that too. But at the end of the day, the public has the power.
Yeah.
It's not for the board to sit there and hide financial numbers, right?
Yeah. And
we'll get to that in a second, right? But just to continue where I left off, we had a former supervisor involved in the investigation, involved prior to the investigation.
That's a big question there, because some of the accusations were allegedly from the other side here were taking place at a time when he was not a supervisor.
Not even there.
Not even there. So where does his testimony? How is his testimony even relevant?
His testimony was relevant from the standpoint that he came in and he basically said that as supervisor and as a town board member, Frank and I should not be entitled to receive, financial information. That was it. And the attorney agreed. And the attorney, I don't know how, but the attorney agreed with him. And it was funny because when I spoke to the attorney's like, oh yeah, at my law firm, we have weekly meetings on on financial numbers, right? And here she turned around and said, well, we're not, we don't need to see those. Well,
yeah, of course you have to see them.
You don't need to see them.
It's like your freaking job.
Here we're in a town that now can't borrow because the town board was not kept up to date with what's going on, right? Like, we see all the nonsense. And we heard, we keep hearing, oh, well, none of this is my fault. Like we keep hearing George say, none of this is my fault, yada, yada, yada.
But right? You're there. You're there for 4 years. For 4 years, you could have researched and addressed it and said, hey, the previous people had these problems and I went and fixed them. No, you sat there and let them sit for all these years.
So what I want to show you is the town had 2 consultants working for it in 2021. We had RBT and we had hired Nugent Hausler to help us move along. Now, hiring Nugent was a fight. Hiring the deputy comptroller was a fight. Okay? People have to go back to those board meetings, they're public meetings, and their videos showing the fight that we had to try to get those consultants. Now, keep in mind, they spent $350,000 on consulting this year alone, right? We didn't even spend close to that And we were told, we don't have the money, we don't want to do it. But this is what we faced, right? Right? Committed to helping the accounting department, right, prepare the 2020 AUD, right? These were his observations, right? Like, and you could pause to read it, but we were behind on bank reconciliations. We had reconciling items that went back to 2015 and 2016 on our bank recs, right? Like a really long time ago. We just had it was just a mess, right? We hadn't even filed our AUDs at this point in time. Our financials couldn't get done. It was a complete mess. But I mean, these were the findings. I mean, look how long this is. This isn't like one little thing. This is just our outside consultant firm who is helping us with bank reconciliations.
Wow.
Right? And there were just too many things that couldn't be reconciled. Okay? And that was really frustrating. So this idea that the financials were perfect, right? That everything was perfect, right? It just wasn't true. And George can say what he wants. George had said for 3 years, or 3.5 years, up until recently, he had said there wasn't a problem. And now all of a sudden he's like, well, there were problems prior to me returning. Well, you paid somebody $300,000, right? And you said that there were no problems, that everything was done right. So which is it? Okay?
Yeah.
And it there's just a lot of disturbing things. So we do this vote. All of a sudden, I get an email saying, okay, we're going to continue the investigation we're going to continue this investigation. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what I voted for, right? I voted to get a report. I had scheduled the attorney to come in and give the report, rendering of the report. Now, all of a sudden, I was getting nothing. Right? I was told that the investigation was going to continue and they canceled the meeting on the rendering of the report. And I'm saying to myself, what just happened? Because I got bamboozled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You listen to liars, you trust liars, and what ends up happening? That's what ends up happening. Right?
Yeah.
Complain about my votes all you want, right? The fact is if you're being lied to get my vote, that's a problem. When attorneys are lying to me to get my vote, that's a problem. And I'm sorry, I called everybody out for lying because everybody was lying back then. You can see it by the reports that I'm putting up, right? There was a real problem that only me really seemed,
well, you were the only one looking. Anybody else looking would have seen it.
So, but the board knew about these things. They received these reports. They didn't care. They wanted to press forward with trying to sit there and frame Frank. So we get to, the rendering of the report, okay, which happened in October, right? So now all of a sudden this investigation has been going on for 9 months. Right. I was told $15,000 and 3 months. And now we're at 9 months and we're at $100,000.
Wow.
Okay, that this cost us. At the rendering of the report, Councilman Johnson turns to me, right, and says, we went after the wrong person. We should have gone after you.
Wow.
Right? That tells you everything you need to know about what they were doing, right? Then the attorney tells us, well, you have to break your law. You have to break your procurement policy and violate your procurement policy and allow her to do this X, Y, and Z, which is a lack of segregation of duties. I pointed this out to the attorney. Attorney didn't care, right? Like they claimed that people who weren't interviewed, right? Like she was putting words in the mouths of people who weren't even interviewed, right? She didn't interview anybody in the accounting department. Okay, so I don't know how you can make an accounting, rendering an opinion, right, without interviewing anybody in the accounting department at all, right? So none of the members of the accounting department were interviewed. I mean, like, this was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. Right from the get-go. It was all bullshit. And when I pointed these things out to her, to the attorney's like, oh, well, I want more money. I want more money to review this, right? You know? So what I did is right after the rendering, right, I wrote my own report.
Yeah, this was a long report.
It was longer than the investigative report, yes, and it had more exhibits. Okay? I pointed out, so one of the things that Frank was accused of doing was, so back in 2019, you're going to laugh at this story. Back in 2019, the town had purchased some vehicles, 2 vehicles for our building department.
Okay.
Somehow those vehicles ended up being stolen by our police department.
Say what?
Can't make this shit up, right? Been stolen by our police department. Okay, it was Ed Diana.
You people hearing this?
Right, Ed Diana was the supervisor at the time, right, and he was the one that allowed it to happen. Well, now it becomes an accounting issue, right? Because you now have to allocate that expense to the right department, right? So it was booked under the building department because that's who purchased it, okay? And then it ends up in our police department, so now you got to transfer basically the cost from our building department to our police department. Very easy journal entry, okay? It's a very easy journal entry. And it's not a big deal. But our building department still needed vehicles, right? Like, I mean, you know... in the report, it accused Frank, okay, of violating the internal controls and giving the vehicles to our police department and not having them go to the building department, right? When I pointed out that the vehicles were purchased in 2019 before Frank got into office, and I showed her the invoices, right? Like she put the invoices in her exhibits, and I said, Frank wasn't even in office. He didn't even take office till January 2020. The attorney just looked at me like a deer in headlights, like, oh.
That is funny. Oh my God.
Right? Like, you can't make this shit up. I'm sorry. It was a frame job, right? Like, I mean, it's clearly a frame job, right? It's clearly a misappropriation of funds and an effort to frame the former supervisor. I mean, like, you could go through all the things you want and you could play all the audio clips, right? Here's what I know. There were 20 hours of audio clips, okay? But when I mentioned to the attorney, did she review all 20 hours of the audio clips, right? What did she say to me? There was only the one clip. Right? Not only that, right? The one thing that I said that they claimed Frank did was regarding this request for a vacation.
Yeah.
Right? So I said, okay, well, where's the email requesting the carryover vacation? There was no email. It was a conversation in person. Well, at that time, there were no conversations that happened one-on-one with the supervisor and the comptroller. There was always somebody in the room. Okay? So I said, well, where's the witness to this conversation? There was no witness. Where's the audio tape of this conversation? There was no audio clip. That's how I know it didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Right? The whole thing was a lie right from the get-go. So the one thing that the attorney was claiming happened never happened.
Wow.
Okay? Like, I mean, I literally did this entire report, right? And proved that none of what was being said was said. Now, I understand that people can't foil. This is the best part. I understand people can't foil the investigative report because that still hasn't been turned over to the clerk. This response had been turned over to the clerk. It's sitting in the clerk's office and can be foiled.
Wow.
Because I turned it over and I made sure that she stamped it into the records. So anybody who wants it can go in and foil for my report.
Okay.
Right? Not only that, I know that, so when I was running for supervisor, there was a statement that was put out about me. 2 years after she left, she decided to throw some accusations at me. Okay? One of which was that I wrote this report. Okay? Now, the question is this report was hand-delivered by me to the attorney's office. I made sure when I gave it to the attorney that when he made copies, confidential was stamped on the report.
Right.
So there was a watermark on the report.
Got it.
Right? I was the only one with the copy that didn't have confidential on it. Right? So this was my report. It was with me when the former comptroller had to provide discovery to the town.
Yeah.
Right? Of all the things, right? One of the things that she provided was my report. Okay, now how did she get a copy of my report? Well, it had to have been one of the board members because on the report was stamped confidential.
Got it.
All right? So right there, I knew one of the board members gave it to her, right? Like there were only 5 copies made, of my report. One was handed out to an attorney, and the other 2 were handed out to the attorney, and the other 3 were handed out to the board members.
Wow.
And I kept the original, right? So like there so many irregularities, many irregularities. Okay, and I go back to, right, like all inappropriate, all lies. As I said, I wrote this long report. I'm happy to share it with anybody who's interested in reading it. They can read the entire thing.
Comment below.
Right. Comment below. You want a copy, DM us. We'll give you a copy of it. I have no problem providing it to anybody because of the fact that it really highlights all the irregularities. It has in there the phone records. It has in there the reports from our auditors and our accountants and all that kind of stuff, all of which was ignored by the town's attorneys. Okay, and my response to the attorneys is we have to fix the controls of this town. Otherwise, we're going to have money stolen. And there was money going. Listen, there was other things that were happening, right? Like there was check fraud. The town had got hit with check fraud. Only found out like months later. There were, there was there were like checks that were, there were duplicate check numbers being used for different check runs, right? Which I don't even know how that happens because now I've worked with Edmunds for a while and, it's really impossible unless you're manually going in and changing your check start number, right, to do duplicate check numbers. We were told that, and again, this is, from the comptroller's report, which was shared the other day, which I've shared online, that we only had about 60 bank accounts, but that number wasn't true. That number was actually significantly higher than that. There were at least 10 bank accounts that the town wasn't even aware of, right? Like, these were problems. To say that nothing was wrong, right, and that everything was perfect, was absolutely insane. And for anybody who thinks that compelling an employee to do their job is harassment, right, has never been an employer.
Right.
Has never been an employer. Because if your employer asks you to do something and you say no, you're getting fired. I'm sorry, you're getting fired. Right? I dare you next time your boss asks you to give him something, right? Financial documents or whatever it is that you do, right? If it's within the scope of your job, right? If you say no, I guarantee you're going to be fired or disciplined, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and that ain't harassment. It just isn't.
Right.
Okay? I don't care what anybody says, that isn't harassment. Compelling somebody to do their job is not harassment. I can't say that enough. And you look back, and people want to ignore the documents. They want to... I'm sorry. I wasn't sitting here, as much as everybody thinks that I was defending Frank. Okay? Right? Which I really wasn't. Right? I was defending the town. I was representing my constituents. Right? Whatever the results were of Frank, if they were above board, I would have accepted them, and I would have went to him and I would have said, you have to accept these results. Right?
Got it.
I mean, not for nothing. This is, you know, I mean, I've heard some nasty stuff said at town hall, right? I've heard Ed Diana yell at people, right, and curse at people, right? I've heard Eric Valentin yell and curse at people. Listen, I've been yelled at and cursed at by all three of those board members, right? I've been yelled at and cursed at by all three of them, right? They're all unprofessional.
Let me ask you this. Have you seen them also behave this way towards constituents that were there for meetings and may have asked an uncomfortable question?
Well, we saw that last week. Well,
they were yelling with each other. They were talking
But they were
down.
they were also yelling at constituents. They belittle constituents who ask questions, who ask good and valid questions, right? Eric Valentin even told my mom, right, that she didn't know what she was talking about and she should sit down and shut up.
In a board meeting,
okay?
in a public board meeting.
My mom asked a question regarding the town's finances, and he said, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell the public. My mom raised two CPAs. Two accountants. Okay? And you're going to tell her that she doesn't know anything about finances or numbers.
Yeah, please.
All right? You may work at Morgan Stanley, but you clearly have no clue what the fuck you're doing, dude. Seriously. You have no clue. I've watched you work. You have no clue what the financial numbers actually mean or how they work or anything. You sit there with your notebook. You take notes. You don't fucking know anything. Okay? And this is proof of it, right? Like, I mean, you're talking bank reconciliations that haven't been reconciled since 2015. Right? You're talking reports that haven't been accurate since 2018 at the latest. Right? Like, give me a freaking break. Give me a break. Right? And now we know that the town has no ability to even borrow because we lost our credit rating. Right? I'm sorry. Everybody's got to open their fucking eyes. Yeah. Okay? Enough's enough. Enough's enough with the crap. Okay? And I have one last thing to show everybody here. Right? When they say, oh, well, why did the insurance company pay out $300,000? Right? And I'm not going to say anything because whatever. I just want people to understand. Our insurance carrier is NYMER. Right? Which is the New York Municipal Insurance Company. Yeah. Right? Right? So we use NYMER as our as our insurance carrier here in town. Here's the Board of Governors of NYMER. Can anybody tell me if anybody looks familiar?
Guy in the middle? I don't know all these
His name is right underneath.
Oh my God, President Dan Depew. Wow. Insurance liaison, town of Wallkill. Wow. That's
correct. Board president. Right? I can tell you that we were going to go to trial. The day that we were supposed to go to trial, they settled. We had all our evidence together. We had everything ready to go. And the day we were supposed to have our day in court, we didn't get it. Because the insurance company decided to settle.
And he's the president of that insurance company.
And he was involved in the investigation. And he was involved prior to the investigation and phone calls.
That is, yeah. That's a conflict of interest.
Right. But what have we seen? We've seen conflicts of interest all over the place. We see poor management. We see negligence. We see we see a whole bunch of different things. Okay?
It's what we don't see that's a problem.
It's what you don't see is the problem. And people really need to start opening their eyes and understanding that local government, right? Like, if you don't elect the right people, this is the shit that they do. So now you have $100,000 for an investigation. Let's add up the money. $100,000 for an investigation, right? $300,000 payoff for a complaint that was filed, right? You have $400,000 that was stolen out of town accounts by an auditor of the town, right? Who saw that the controls and the finances were a freaking mess, right? And thought he could get away with it. Okay. You have now our bond rating, revocation of our bond rating, right? So leaving us with an inability to borrow money, right? I mean, what are we talking? And $350,000 for consultants that we know of, right? I mean,
that we know of so far,
right? So you're now looking at over $1 million of taxpayer money, right? To fix to essentially like frame somebody, fix something, do all this other nonsense, right? When if they had just listened to me back in 2017, right? This never would have happened. My favorite quote is, if Woody had gone straight to the police, this never would have happened. If they had just listened to me,
yeah,
right from the get-go, right? We could have saved the town $1 million.
Wow.
We could have saved the town $1 million. We could have saved the taxpayers $1 million. None of it would have happened. If they would have just listened to me, allowed me to help out, allowed me to help fix what they broke, all this stupid shit, okay, it would have been very easy to go through, especially given the timing, right? Like where we were, right? Now you've hidden all these things for years, right?
Now they're festering.
And you've entrenched yourself. You've made it so that you don't even want to discuss these things. Well, if you can't discuss something, you really can't fix it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right? And what do we see now? We see one board member, Eric Valentin, again, right? Who was financial liaison for all those years, okay, when this was occurring, now is financial liaison again and is refusing to include the rest of the board in fixing this problem. So, is it going to get fixed? Who the hell knows? We're hearing, 2 months. We're 2 months. Why were we even here in the first place? You lied, dude. Resign. You lied. You flat out lied. You said that everything was perfect and you knew what you were doing and you lied. Right? All of them should resign. If they don't all resign, they should all be thrown out of office. I'm sorry. Right? Being a hiring manager and firing manager for as many years as I was, right? I could tell you this. These guys would have been fired long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because you're hiring somebody to do a job. They fail to do the job. You fire them and you hire new people and you hope that they can do the job. And if they can't do the job, then you hire new people.
Right.
Enough's enough. Enough's enough. And I know I sound pissed.
Yeah.
And it's because I am pissed. Because for 8 years I had to listen to, he's a liar, he's this, he's that, right? I listened to all that bullshit. And I took all that bullshit, right? Because I thought, listen, I'm an elected official, I want to be nice, and I'm trying to get along here. But now I've had enough, right? Losing the bond rating, I've had enough. Enough's enough, right? Like, not to get on my soapbox, but you're fucking adults, right? And I'm speaking now to the board. You're fucking adults, right? You know what a job is. You've been working a job most of your goddamn lives, okay? Right? Enough's enough. Start acting like adults. Start taking responsibility for your actions. Start taking ownership of what you do and start admitting your mistakes. Okay? Because everybody has had enough of this crap.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody's had enough of the lies. Right? Everybody's had enough of this garbage. Right? Walk away now with what semblance of dignity you have. Right? Otherwise, this is just going to continue, right? Unless you just want to keep spending millions of dollars to make sure that you don't look bad, right? Because that's all it seems now that you're spending money on, is that you don't look bad.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not working because people are seeing through it. So let's
what questions do you have, Denise?
So I want to review. I want to point out something, because we just reviewed Don Kilcoyne, interviewed
Right.
Don Kilcoyne yesterday, and he pointed out something that maybe you here in town of Wallkill that's watching this video may not realize: just the importance of why we need to vote in every single election, even the ones you may not know about, such as one that's coming up on November 4th. That's going to be your opportunity to take a good look at the folks running on this board and ask them some really hard questions about this information that Neil has just put out there for you to look at. Because again, they're still trying to frame it that it's all on one former supervisor who was there for 2 years, and we've already shown that the problems existed before he was there, and the problems are still there after he's gone. We saw that last week.
And they didn't give him access to anything. So it wasn't like he could actually fix anything. They didn't give him access to anything. And the reorganization of the department, which you keep hearing about, the department was short-staffed, right? Look, all you need to do is look back at the notes, right? Like, we hired a deputy comptroller. That deputy comptroller, I have emails from that deputy comptroller still to this day, right? Of her, I don't have access to this. They removed my access to this. She couldn't do her job because she wasn't given access that she needed to do her job. She wasn't being trained by the comptroller. She was basically being sabotaged from day one because the comptroller didn't want her there, right? And there is ample evidence and emails that show that the comptroller didn't want her. In fact, there was a complaint that she was hired against the wishes of the comptroller. Right?
Wow.
So like people, I understand a lot of this stuff didn't make the public purview, and there really wasn't a way to articulate to get it out there. But I've had enough. I've had enough of all the lies. It's time for the truth to come out, and it's time for people to see exactly what had occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. No, so thank you for putting this information out there. Do you have more slides to show, or that's?
I mean, I think that really covers everything.
Covers everything.
I don't.
All right.
I don't know what else to say other than I worked really hard for my constituents. I worked really hard to fix what was broken. All I really cared about was putting the town in a better financial position, because this town does bring in a lot of money. It is a financial engine. There are great ways to reduce costs and reduce the taxpayer burden in this town that isn't being done.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people on fixed incomes, who are retired, and this type of nonsense is what drives up the costs for your constituents. These guys, it's $1 million. Are they paying for it out of their pocket? No,
they're making us pay out.
Right.
Of it.
They're making us pay for it.
And
why? Because they're trying to cover up their incompetence and negligence. All right.
Wow.
It doesn't always have to be about stealing, right? I mean, per se, I'm going to walk away with a bag of cash, right? But I just walked you through. And again, the problems did exist prior to George. The question is why did it take him so long to do anything about it? I mean, the guy's been in office for 4 years and is only now doing it.
Starting
right?
to do things.
And now we can see why he didn't run, right? He lost the town's bond rating. He's lied to the public. There's a trust factor. You have no trust with the guy. The only people voting for these people now are going to be people who are just completely partisan and don't want to see a Democrat in the in government. That's it. And that's just sad. That's just sad. And I'm not a Democrat anymore. I'm not. I left the party. I had my own personal reasons for leaving the party, but I'm not a Democrat anymore. And I don't really care whether you're Democrat or Republican. Do the fucking right job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want you to do your job. I was kind of talking a little about Don with that last night, right? It's like there's a job to do. It's a small business.
Yep.
You have to manage the finances.
Yeah. Which is a major part of any business. I also want to point out for anybody who has any questions about Neil. Neil has gone on to become comptroller for another small town. That is the town of Chester. He's not on the board, obviously, because he doesn't live there. But I was speaking with Councilman Vanella. And he pointed out the fact that you, in 6 months or under a year, have completely turned around Chester's finances and fixed their books.
I know it sounds a lot more difficult than it really was. Listen, town of Chester was probably where the town of Walkill was when Frank took office. Okay. So when I got there, they were about 2 years behind in their financial filings. Their bank recs were a little bit behind, probably more like not a year and a half, which was the town of Walkills, but about 9 months behind. It wasn't easy. It was putting the right pieces in place. I reorganized the department. I did a lot in a very short period of time, and I certainly wouldn't recommend any accountant do what I did in the time frame that I did it. Because it really was, we moved from a purchase order methodology to a requisition methodology. We gave access to all the financial systems, right, to our admins, to all our departments. We needed to reestablish giving board reports to the board. Financial reports. So now the board gets their monthly budget to actual report. They get and then they get a balance sheet and income statement.
So they're doing it right, the way we should be doing it here. And
the way every municipality should be doing it.
Should be doing it.
And we just put together. We just put together for the budget. We not only put together year-end projections. But we did cash flows, which is we even got the cash flows done. My belief is, as it relates to the projections and the cash flows, I still need another probably 2 years to get the trend analysis that I would be looking for. But I've looked at so far 2 months. And I haven't been far off, so my guesses have been pretty spot on.
So this is.
But this is what an accounting department should be, and then obviously with the goal that we're accumulating. So what I'm doing is as the accountant along with the budget officer, who's also the supervisor, we're accumulating future projects. So the idea being that so this year we went through the budget process and we said, listen, we just don't want to know what you need for next year. What are you going to need the year after? What are you going to need the year after that? Right? What we were talking about with Don last night. The idea of future planning for your municipality to ensure that you're doing things in the right year, that you have the financial ability to do those things, that you're not going to be raising taxes significantly in the future, those type of things. It's really important that these things get done, and that you have a board that understands what they need to do, and don't just think like, hey, it's a paycheck. I'm going in and I'm just going to rubber stamp everything, and I'm going to be big man around town. Like I'm going to go get free food, and I'm going to go get this. Right? I've never taken a free meal from anybody, just so everybody knows. But I know my fellow board members, like they go around thinking that they're hot shit, and they're getting free shit all over town. Right? Like, I mean,
not supposed to be doing that.
Well, just listen. Just like be on the up and up.
But that's not happening. We wouldn't be dealing with this if they were on the up and up. So there's a lot buried there. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we may not ever know. But one way we can start to get out from under it is to maybe vote them out, and let's get some new people in there, and let's start to unbury what is buried. So
I think the here's the thing. I've seen the statement regarding the bond rating from Frank. I have not seen anything from Ralph. I haven't seen anything from Ralph regarding finances at all. I've heard, people tell me that he thinks it's not a problem, right?
So he's going in as if
right,
everything is fine.
Everything is fine, right? And the problem is you're managing a small business. Okay?
Yeah.
This isn't a legislative body. Okay? You're not making laws, right? Like if you're running for assembly or you're running for the state senate, those are legislative bodies. You're not really you're managing finances, but it's much different.
Right.
Right? Like, there you have a legislative body, you have an executive branch, like you actually have branches of government. And it operates a little bit differently because you are making laws that like govern policing, that govern, everything in your state, grants, all those other things.
Yeah.
In this, it's really just, it's a management job. You're running for a management job, right? Because you're managing the people and you're managing the finances of your local town, which is your roads, your water, your sewer, your police, those type of things. You're not really doing a lot of legislative stuff. You're more doing money stuff. You look at half the things that they do, it's really related to, hey, we need a new security contractor, or, we need to hire a new police officer, or we need to, you got to manage your people. And if you're telling me that losing your bond rating, okay, isn't a concern, and everything is fine, and you're running on the idea like, oh, there aren't any problems here, and you're running with the guys that are hiding all this shit.
Yep.
That all that tells me is that you're going to continue
with the status quo.
With the status quo, right? And you know what? Listen, if I'm wrong, Ralph, join us on the show. Come on the show. We're gonna have Frank on at some point in time, I believe. Right? Come on the show and tell your side of the story. Let's hear what you got to say about this.
Yeah.
Right? Because I remember you coming to a meeting and challenging me about information that they refused to give me. So I want to hear what you have to say now, right? Now that the town has lost its bond rating, now that the town has all these other issues, right? With the finances, and spent $350,000, which isn't an insignificant amount of money. Some villages, that's their entire operating budget.
Yeah, and not to
right?
mention,
if you don't, right,
getting $400,000 stolen right out of your nose,
right,
because the books were so in such disarray that person thought it was easy to do.
If you think $1 million of our taxpayer money, right, is nothing and not a big deal, right? Then you know what? Come on, let's see what you got to say. Like, at this point in time, I think the public deserves to know what you stand for. Because I've certainly had enough of this garbage. Right? The fact is all this is public information. I shouldn't have to sit here and foil stuff and then hope that I get it when I don't. And all you need to do is look at, so I want to say this, right? I'm gonna leave you with this. Look at the budget that the supervisor put out for the supervisor of the town of Wackel, George, put out, all right, for the 2026 budget.
Yeah.
I want everybody to go and look at it. It's on the town website, right? The clerk has already posted it. It's been stamped, right? All it has on there is a requested column. That's it.
I'm going there right now.
A budget request. That is it. Okay? Right? They don't even have historical numbers, no past numbers, no comparables, no information on what's included in the budget. Nothing. Okay?
Where will I find that? Town budget. Resident services. Town budget. Oh, wow.
2026 town budget.
So, no shit here. It starts at 2022 and goes backwards. That's listing here. Just let me briefly share this. This is, if you want to talk about...
Are you looking at this year's budget, or are you looking at...
No, I'm looking at... I clicked on the link to town budgets, and it opens up a page that... Yeah, look at this. This is pretty funny. Yeah, first of all, why don't we... can we disconnect your feed over here?
Can I leave now? Can I leave?
You can leave that guy. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're back to two of us. This is... Okay, so let me go to share. Where it is. Nope, that's raise. I don't want to raise my hand.
I didn't want to leave and then have our video screwed up.
No. You could... Okay, screen. Town of Wallkill, town budgets. So, just take a look at this. If you're looking at this budget here, look, this is, I just opened the page, so I'll go back here to the front page for Town of Wallkill. There it is, right? This is townofwallkill.com. You come down here to town budget. You want to look at the town budget. And look at it. It starts at 2022, going down. Like, shouldn't it have the most recent one at the top?
It should, but, they don't really update the website very much, so.
Well, that's, we are residents. So I want to go and I want to look at this. Let me come back over here. I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah. So, if I'm a resident of the town and I want to see what the budget is, I want to see where my money's going, I go in there and I look at the current budget and we're practically 4 years behind with what's posted there.
Right. So, hold on. Let me share with you, since I have it up. So this is the town's current budget for the 2026 year. That's it.
Okay. You got a stamped copy there.
It's a stamped copy, but it just has the current numbers. That's it. All it has is current numbers on it. That's it. That's what their request is for the budget year 2020.
Whoa. What's that bottom line number there? Is 48? 48 million?
Well, that for all our funds, that would be about right. Yes.
I thought you had said that the amount that was the revenue that was collected was roughly 26 million.
That's
well, where did you find that? Now, are those under reports maybe? Maybe that's where it is?
This is under the clerk's thing, right?
Okay.
So all you have, right? These are the expenses, right? All you have, okay, is the requested column. You have no historical information. You don't have, where actuals were for previous years. You don't have any type of, like, if you look at any other municipality, what they're going to give you is they'll say, all right, this is what's requested for 2026. Then they'll have, here's 2025 budgeted versus actual. Here's 2024 budgeted versus actual, so that you see that historical data. Right?
You can figure out what was needed, what was spent.
Right. Well, if you don't know what you budgeted last year, and you don't know what you spent last year, how can you make any determination as a board member? If I'm a board member looking at this, how am I supposed to make a determination if these numbers are even close to being accurate?
Good question.
How would I even know? How would I know if I don't have any historical information? If I'm not receiving monthly board reports and I don't have financial statements for the years 2023 and 2024, right? Because there are no financial statements for those years. How am I supposed to make any determination about whether this is a good budget?
Yeah.
There's no transparency here. There's nothing. They don't tell you what equipment they're buying. They don't tell you how the money is going to be utilized or how much money we utilized last year. There's nothing. This is on it. They did the same exact thing last year. Okay? This is one of the least transparent budgets that you'll ever see. Okay?
Wow.
And this to me is completely disturbing. And this idea that you have somebody backing this, saying this isn't a problem, this is okay.
Yeah. So you can expect to get more of the same.
You're going to get more of the same. You're going to get garbage in, garbage out.
And you have just told us over this whole discussion that Frank, who was briefly supervisor for 2 years, was not being given access to this information when he was in office because he was actually in the minority. It was just you and it was just you and Frank as you.
Well, what is interesting is if you go back to that last budget meeting that we had, where the board decided to change his budget, they said, oh, Frank's revenue number for sales tax was unrealistic, right? What we found out now is that they were hiding that money. So that money that Frank put in, right, the state comptroller says, well, we were under-reporting revenue each year by that amount.
Wow.
Right? So Frank was actually trying to do the right thing by budgeting the additional revenue, whereas the rest of the board was trying to hide that money and wanted to tax the residents for additional money so that they can operate the town for profit.
Hey, did you hear that? Did you hear that, everybody? Hiding sales tax revenue in order to levy that amount on us, the residents, and keep the profit.
Right.
Yeah, that's corruption.
Listen, I've been saying it all along. He who controls the money has the power. Yeah. Right, and the fact is that they were able to basically hide the money so that they can maintain their power. Right, this idea that they tell everybody, oh, the town doesn't have any money. Right, yeah. Well, why doesn't the town have any money? The town is collecting money. They've been under-reporting revenues and over-reporting expenses. Right. In terms of their budgeting for the better part of a decade, which means that they've been taking in and operating as a for-profit for that period of time, right? Where is all that money going then, right? What is that money being spent on? Plus, they also got ARPA money. What's the money being spent on? Is it being spent on investigations and fixing the numbers and all that kind of crap? Right, like the $1 million that they spent on the accounting department, or the millions of dollars that they're spending, on something else, right? Versus and not letting the taxpayer know.
Yeah,
right.
This is what you're paying for.
We heard at the last meeting. Incompetent. Right, we heard at the last meeting our roads are turning into crap.
Yeah.
Right, we heard that at the last meeting. So if they're not spending the money on the roads, and the accounting is crap and you're not getting real numbers, what the hell are they, why are they hiding it, and what are they actually spending the money on, right? They clearly know that they're taking in more revenue than they're spending, right? I mean, They know that from the budgeting aspect. So, and they're obviously decided that they're spending the money on things that aren't budgeted for. So, where's that money going?
Well, that's the question of the day. Folks, Here we are. Take this information. Right now, these people are campaigning. Ask them. Ask them about this. They're quick to talk about... Oh, excuse me, I just got to take a sip here. They are quick to bring up, the Frank situation, but that's really a ruse for covering up what's happening here with your tax dollars.
Right.
All
They've
right.
been talking shit for the last 4 years, right? And it's all been and the public has been lied to.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't believe, in an effort to win elections and control, right, town hall.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, right? Town hall, all the money, everything belongs to you, the taxpayer. Okay? So you now have a decision to make on November 4th about what you want in your town and how you want your money spent and all these other type of things. I can tell you, right, that when Pyramid came to us regarding the PDR, right, because they wanted to do their apartments down by the Galleria, the law that changed the PDR, they wrote that. I was in that meeting. They wrote that. Okay? It wasn't what I wanted, and that's why I voted against it, right? But, like, this is the shit that's going on. As I keep saying, development occurs not at the state level, it occurs in your local communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's shit going on here, and, all these people who are complaining about warehouses and this and that and the development and the overdevelopment in certain areas and all this other kind of crap. You keep electing the same damn people.
Yeah. If you want change, you got to change the people. Even
like
if
50
that,
years, it's been 50, 60 years of Republican rule in this freaking town with the same people in charge, right? The former supervisor keeps coming up, goes to meetings and he talks about, the town fathers. I keep hearing about the town fathers, right? Wake up, people. Town fathers are not you. If the town fathers are making the decision, it ain't you.
Right. Yeah.
I ran on this on the premise that I wanted to give back to my community and help my community out.
And you did.
And I did my best with what I had. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough. And to be honest with you, it's not something, as I said, that I really wanted. And I didn't really want any of this. I didn't really want to be supervisor. I didn't even really want to be a councilman. I enjoyed being a councilman. I really feel like I helped a lot of people, but it wasn't like my dream job. like it's a lot more it's a lot more aggravation, to be honest with you, than it's worth. But I really did want to help, and I really did want to fix this because, the one thing I know the people in our community do is that they struggle with their finances.
Yeah. Yep. We all do.
A lot of people on fixed incomes, a lot of people, who are struggling, and I really wanted to, do something and help them out. And the best way to do that is to fix the numbers.
Right.
Because that's how you get taxed, right? I mean, everything is about numbers. I went into when I went into Chester. I mean, I had to save that town at least a couple $100,000 in just, in just things that they shouldn't have been paying for.
Right. Yeah.
And whatever you want to say about that, it pays to have somebody looking at those numbers and putting them together and trying to make sure that people understand them. Now, boards can do whatever they want. Boards want to spend extra money or they can do whatever they want. But, it all starts with the hiring process and hiring your board and having good management.
Yeah.
What kind of managerial style do these people have?
I think we're finding that out. It's kind of a mess here. So, again, come out and vote on November 4th. Your candidates are out on the road. Ask them questions. So, find out where they're going to be. They all hopefully have websites or Facebook pages that you can follow and you can see what's going on. We've invited Frank Dendanto. We're going to invite the other council people that are running, just to have them come on here, and you can hear their views just in case they don't knock on your door. And the other side, you're welcome to come too. Come join us. Especially Ralph Carr, you should come on here and let's hear what your platform is.
I would invite anybody to come on and talk local politics. We did it with Don last night. It wasn't like heavy. People would think I might be hard. I'm really a pretty easygoing guy, and all I want are people that are going to be go in there, do a good job, and understand that they're there for the benefit of their community and the people that they represent.
Yeah. By the way, that was a really great interview. If you haven't seen it, it's episode 26. I put it up in the middle of the night because that's when I do my editing like a mad scientist. But this has been a long discussion. We're going to wrap it up here. But this will probably come up again, obviously. And again, we've invited, we're open. Reach out to us, message us. And we will get you on here and let's talk. Let's talk about the issues here in town of Wallkill. All right, guys. We've got more content coming as always. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave us a comment because we want to hear from you. And also click on the bell. There's that little bell on the bottom there, so you get notified when new videos drop that will hopefully not be as long as this. No, just kidding. All right. So thanks, guys. We love you very much.
Sometimes the truth takes time.
It does. All right. We love you guys. We will see you soon. Take care.
Peace out.